Hello and welcome. You're watching Budget of Hope, an initiative by ICICIdirect.com. I have with me very special guest, Mr. Gopal Balachandran, CFO and Chief Risk Officer, ICICI Lombard General Insurance Company. Welcome, Mr. Balachandran.
Hi, good morning, Gitu, and hope all of you are kind of staying safe and healthy in this uncertain environment. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for asking, sir. Insurance is a very important tool that plays a very crucial role in mitigating uncertain risk. What are your expectations from the budget with regards to providing boost to underpenetrated general insurance sector in India?
Oh, that's a very, very important question that you asked, Gitu. So let me just kind of just put it in the context and then kind of something specifics which we are looking at from a general insurance standpoint. If you look at the sector, as you rightly said, the sector is significantly underpenetrated. And that's quite evident when you look at the penetration of GI sector as a percentage of GDP stands at about 0.94%. And this, forget about comparing it with developed markets. Even if you look at among the Asian counterparts, we are significantly lower insofar as penetration is concerned. And the only way you can look at expanding the penetration is by trying to see how best the government and the citizens in general can be incentivized to promote growth of the sector as such. Now, some of the initiatives, specifically in the context of what we can expect out of the budget, I will kind of broadly put it under three broad themes. One is protection to assets, for which one can talk about the various incentives that one is expecting out of the budget. Two, protecting self, and which is basically protecting people. And three, I would kind of put it in the context of making sure that we get into as much as possible a less litigious society in general. I think those are the three broad expectations that I would put it under. Let me take the first part, which is protecting assets. Today, when you look at, in general, the catastrophic events that are impacting public at large has significantly increased. In the past, maybe we would have talked about one catastrophic event, one flood event which has impacted the country at large. Today, when you look at it, we're kind of getting impacted by multiple catastrophic events or flooding events year on year. And as a result of this, you get to see a lot of economic losses. However, relative to that, when you look at the insured losses, it's just a fraction. And the only way you can kind of get protection insofar as assets are concerned is on three broad heads. One is protecting your homes. Today, when you look at home insurance, the proportion of people who typically take a cover for their home as such is possibly exceedingly very low at less than 1%. So hence, the government can do a great job, and in order to also make sure that significantly the losses resulting from catastrophes are adequately protected, incentivization can be given in the form of some form of a tax rebate insofar as home insurance is concerned. So that will go a long way in giving a fill up to growing the home insurance portfolio. The second asset, which increasingly if you see, is typically today all of us are working from home. The entire operating model is undergoing a big change, and therefore there seems to be a lot of focus insofar as cyber insurance is concerned. Given the fact that all of us are slightly concerned about what could happen in the event if a cyber attack takes place, and hence, while both as organizations and as individuals per se, there is a need for us to be become completely aware of this particular risk, and two, there are enough and more insurances that are available in the market today, by virtue of which you can kind of actually take and protect yourself insofar as cyber attacks are concerned. And again, in order to incentivize or rather kind of build a culture for people to take a cyber insurance cover, it can be best possible if the government also looks at introducing some form of a benefit in the form of a tax deduction, or again protecting the risk arising from cyber attacks is concerned. So that's the second part when it comes to protecting the asset. And the third part is also with respect to motor insurance. If you look at as a country, while we see new vehicle sales kind of gathering pace as the economy has started to open up, but still as a country, we are significantly underpenetrated insofar as taking a health auto insurance is concerned. And therefore, again on this context, if we have to promote the proportion of people who take a motor insurance, it will be good for the government to kind of put an incentivization again in the form of a benefit, so that people are kind of taking a lot of auto insurance as such. So all in all, when I put this entire category of taking a cover for protecting their assets, fundamentally what essentially one is talking about is today you have under the Income Tax Act a special whatever a section which takes care of largely, I would say, protection and savings in that context. So the need of the hour is to similarly carve out a separate section which takes care of protecting the assets in those three categories that I spoke about. So that's the first wish list insofar as protecting the assets is concerned. The second point which I talked about was with respect to protecting the self and your family members. And what best a time can we ask for anything more is this pandemic event. And clearly our eyes have all got opened up. All those who had a protection in some form clearly realized that the amount of protection that one had taken was significantly lower. And equally, as you would have seen, and I'm sure you would have kind of heard a lot about it, the proportion of individuals who have taken a coverage of health for self or even for their family members, when you look at the percentages, it's a single digit penetration. As a country, I think we have got a huge legroom to cover, by virtue of which we can have again promotion of health insurance as a significant area of growth prospect as well. So it is in that context, while there is under the existing Income Tax Act some amount of deduction that is made available so far as health insurance premiums are concerned, but to my mind, I think it will be good for us to see how we can kind of further increase the limit of deduction that's available so far as health insurance premiums are concerned. And there, the thought process that I would want to put forth is one, I mean, every year we kind of get hearing that the limit on health insurance premium should be increased, right? So one way to address that is to say that as a one time, they kind of significantly increase the limit from the current levels to whatever they are to a reasonably sufficient level, which takes care of protection. But more importantly, I would kind of believe that if it can be linked to a cost inflation index, pretty much similar to what you get to see on the capital gains side, on a similar lines, insofar as health insurance deduction under the Income Tax Act is concerned, if you can link the extent of the limit available for deduction to a cost inflation index, and that forms the basis of availability of deduction year on year. So to my mind, then there is no need that every year you go and make a representation to the government saying that can you increase the limit from X to Y, Y to Z, and so on and so forth. Rather, link it to an index, and that forms the basis of availability of deduction, which automatically takes care of inflation. What are we worried about? We are worried about inflation. So to my mind, I think this is the other factor, that if you can get a linkage to an index, that to my mind will be a great push insofar as promoting the health insurance element is concerned. And the final piece, when I spoke about the wish list insofar as making ourselves a less litigious society in general, I think today, for various reasons, it may be unintentional in that sense, but there is always a probability of an interpretation that's possible under the law. And to that extent, if the government can come out with maybe much more clearer and explicit clarifications, particularly on areas which are significantly litigious, that to my mind goes a long way on it in kind of working extremely positive, both for the companies and even for the government in general. Otherwise, it's kind of endless litigation that goes year on year for multiple years without serving no objective. So hence, if particularly let's say in the context of the GI sector, if there is a separate cell that gets carved out and they start looking at issues which impacts general insurance in general, and if there are areas where there's an explicit clarification required, then to my mind, I think it will go a long way in giving those clarifications out and making it a less litigious situation in general. So those are the three broad themes that I would put insofar as the ask from the government is concerned.
Industry has been demanding cut in GST, and the government has little scope of doing so. What do you expect?
So honestly, if you ask me, I think the only way to kind of increase, it's not about giving a cut. I would kind of, when you talk about GST, I'm a firm believer of, let's say, doing away with exemptions. Because many times what happens is, if you make the end-to-end services completely taxable, then all these challenges again in terms of losing of credit in the somewhere in the entire value chain kind of gets taken care of. Many times the ask has been to kind of give complete exemptions. So at least personally, I think I'm a firm believer that you should never have any kind of a breakage in the value chain. rather result into more of, let's say, doing away with exemptions completely. And then, to my mind, that automatically takes care of any leakages of revenue. And in the process, the GST rates which are stipulated, to my mind, is fair. Because what also happens is when you seek a cut in the GST rate, so from the customer, you may possibly end up collecting the premiums at a lower rate of tax. But when it comes to availment of input credit, there is a mismatch in the rate at which you are collecting taxes and the mismatch in the rates at which you are entitled to a credit. So honestly, that to my mind does not augur well insofar as long-term development is concerned. Rather, as I said, it is best if you can try and reduce the number of exemptions and make it at the entire value chain taxable. That will go a long way again in kind of making things much more simpler and easier for companies to operate.
Are the things looking better on ground, sir? Because the overall slowdown in the auto sector has really hit hard for general insurance business. So are the things looking better now? I mean, we are talking about V-shaped recovery.
Yeah. So Kitu, I think that's a very, very fair point to ask. But honestly, if you ask us in the context of ICICI Lombard, when I look at it first, or maybe even before that, let's say look at the sector in general, I think things seems to be looking very good. So let me give some data points around that. I think obviously we all have seen, let's say, the first quarter, second quarter, in that sense, more or less, particularly first quarter was a watershed. Second quarter, maybe some elements of the economy started to open up. So therefore, you did see some new vehicle sales getting traction. But when you look at quarter three, I think things have got exceedingly positive, particularly when you see the new vehicle sales on the private car side. I think it has taken a lot of positive traction. If you look at on the commercial vehicles, while it is still not out of the woods, but when you look at tractor sales, clearly you can see a significant positive momentum kind of gaining shape insofar as commercial vehicle sales are concerned. Even if you look at the government's recent thought process of possibly introducing a scrappage policy, which again augurs well in terms of the long-term development of the sale of motor vehicles in general. But just to be specific, if you look at quarter three, I think things have started to look up very well insofar as sale of new auto vehicles are concerned for the sector in general. And within that, when you look at for ICICI Lombard, on the motor insurance part, for quarter three, we actually had a growth of 14%. And for the 9 months, we are actually out of the red, we are in the black. So on the motor side, we actually had a positive growth of 2.1%. So in that sense, I think that's primarily because of some of the capabilities that we have largely been able to put as a company. But for the sector as such, I think things seems to be looking good. On the two-wheeler, however, there is some more catch-up that we have to do. And the expectation is that as things starts to open up further, as what we have seen rightfully so week on week, I think it should only logically start to look better is the thought process that one has.
So things are really looking up, and we hope that the budget brings some cheer for this sector. Thank you, Mr. Balachandran, for being with us. It was a pleasure speaking.